So now we're going to take a little different track. Much of our work has been done in that one chart where they talk about the total product life cycle, and you've seen it multiple times today. A lot of the work we've been doing is in the early innovation and the clinical phase. This program goes to the end of the cycle. It's influenced throughout the cycle, but this really gets to quality of product out in the market. And so I'm going to introduce Dr. Aaron Murray. He is the Chief Medical Officer for Medical Devices and Diagnostics in Johnson & Johnson, MDIC board member, and the board champion for this particular program. Aaron?
Thank you very much, Bill. And it's my pleasure to briefly introduce the case for quality before handing over for more detail to Suzanne Fiorino, who's the program leader for MDIC and an executive on loan from industry, and also to Jan Welch, who's acting director of the Office of Compliance at CDRH FDA. So you will have heard Dr. Shuren this morning mention the case for quality a number of times. It's a program that's very close to his heart, and that's absolutely no surprise because it actually has its genesis in a very thoughtful 2011 document, a report that was published by CDRH, and that report was called Understanding the Barriers to Medical Device Quality. And the report recognized the heterogeneity and the complexity of medical devices, their manufacturers, and the multiple use scenarios where our devices are used. But it also came out and pointed out some areas of opportunity for manufacturers to enhance their quality systems and to enhance and think about their culture and behaviors around the application of quality. And at the same time as this report was published, it'd be fair to say that industry, clearly recognizing that patients, their families, and carers rely on us to produce high-quality medical devices, was also grappling with the fact that achieving technical compliance to the numerous national and international quality standards is difficult enough on its own for companies of varying sizes, but in and of itself, having an ISO 13485 quality system certification in your hand is not necessarily sufficient for your business and your company to be consistently producing and distributing high-quality and consistently high-quality medical devices. And so helping companies of all sizes to understand and navigate that delta between technical compliance and actually where you need to be performance-wise around quality to provide high-quality medical devices was the challenge that industry, FDA, CDRH, academia, and thankfully some healthcare providers, those who purchase medical devices on behalf of patients, took up. And so I'll invite Suzanne Fiorino to come up to the podium now and tell you more detail about this program. Thank you.
Well, hello to everyone in the room, and I'm happy to be reporting on this program, which is a new one for MDIC since the last annual meeting. So Aaron did a great job giving us a little bit of background, and I think it's important to understand the context that when we talk about the case for quality in the broadest sense, it did have its origins in FDA. Even earlier than 2011 is when the actual paper was published that identified some of the plans to address this. So fast forward to last year, and well, first we want to talk a little bit about what the intent is, and it's really to think about what are the barriers, elevate the status of product quality from a pure compliance perspective to truly focusing on quality aspects. And you might say, well, device companies should be focusing on quality, and of course we do, but the data had suggested that we needed some work there. And one of the intents in MDIC taking up the MDIC case for quality was really to pull together a broad set of stakeholders, not just industry, not just FDA, but other individuals that are coming together on a routine basis to look at this, identify actions and activities. So last year, MDIC was awarded, as you heard from Jeff this morning, some funding under a condition called a Broad Agency Agreement or grant to support the case for quality. And there were 4 broad objectives associated with this, very broad. The first was to conduct some research on quality maturity models. And that work has been done. The output of that is posted on the MDIC website, so you can go and take a look at that. toward the end of our funding agreement, we have an obligation to develop a change action plan, but the real action is taking place under 2 and 3, and that is to create a venue for ongoing quality engagement forums, where this broad set of stakeholders come together on a routine basis to look at and focus on and work on important aspects of medical device product quality. As a result of folks getting together, we've identified 4 working groups, and you'll hear a little more about them as we go forward in the presentation this afternoon. I want to spend just a couple minutes talking a little bit about the framework or guts of our program, and after that I'm going to turn it over to Jan Welch, who will give us a little bit of more detail on the workings of the program from the working groups that have been established, as well as to give the FDA perspective on their observations, as well as future expectations. So this year we've come together on an ongoing basis. We, like other MDIC teams, have established a steering committee. We're meeting every other week. We have established a cadence of forums where about 50, plus or minus, individuals have come together every couple of months this year. We just had a forum in September 8th, the day after Labor Day, and we still, even after a holiday, had a group of very engaged individuals coming together to work on this important topic. We also have 2 plans for open forums where anyone, even if you're not able to commit the time and resource to come together on a routine basis, you can hear about the case for quality. Earlier this year, we conducted an MDICX webinar, and October 8th, we'll be having our 2nd open forum of the year out in San Diego. Those of you that might be attending the AdvaMed meeting, welcome you to stay an extra half a day to attend. Registration link is enclosed on the next slide. And of course, the really heart of the program now is our working groups that are coming together in between these forums to deliberate, discuss, scope, and plan out what are the important issues to work on. So we have a broad steering committee, again, 2 representatives from the FDA, as you'll see on the slides, as well as representatives from industry that you see on the slides as well. Our quality forum consists of, again, about 50 individuals that are coming together on a routine basis who are working on 4 different program areas. We have various chairs assembled that are leading these programs, along with assigned program managers for each of these. And to date, we have well over 70 individuals engaged in these various programs and activities, all with plans and activities to move this forward. But I started this talk, and Aaron referred to this earlier, as the case for quality is not just an MDIC term or initiative. The case for quality is very, very broad. And one of the ideas that we discussed and are working on is, what does the whole case for quality framework look like? You know, we've heard people describe it as, we've got the regulations, those are the, requirements, those are things that people say are important, are required to do, but they don't give us the how-to pieces of information to move it forward. So taking advantage of a definition on product quality that AdvaMed and FDA developed earlier, we want to think about, okay, if this is our definition of product quality, how do we measure it? How do you implement it? How do you evolve it from that compliant state to one of true product quality? And then how do you measure and assess the various value associated with it? So you'll see the MDIC programs are all the programs that are highlighted in orange. There are 4 working groups, but you'll notice that there are several projects or programs listed here that are being done either internally in the FDA or with other organizations such as AdvaMed. And the goal of finalizing this draft case for quality framework is to align on what is that case for quality framework among the various interested stakeholders. So when we talk about case for quality, we speak from a common platform. And here's my shameless plug for my open forum on October 8th. But with that, and I will leave you with that, and it should be interesting because we're going to not only go into a little more detail on the 4 working groups, but we'll have an activity around posters and an interactive session where you can talk with each of the program leads for the 4 MDIC programs, but we'll also have representatives from AdvaMed talking about their library of successful practices, as well as 2 representatives from the FDA to talk about the programs in FDA, primarily around the CTQ activities. So with that, I would like to now turn the podium over to Jan Welch, who will give us a little bit more detail on the 4 working groups and, again, some perspectives from where she sits as an active steering committee member. So, Jan, over to you.
Good afternoon, everybody. How you doing? Okay, and you're hanging in here on a Friday afternoon at the end of the week, and now you're getting pretty far down in the pecking order this week, okay? Because we started with His Holiness Pope Francis, so we had him, Wednesday, Thursday. You started out this morning with Dr. Califf, our Deputy Commissioner, and nominated to be the Commissioner of the Food and Drug Administration. Then you got Dr. Shuren, the Center Director, and so we're moving down the food chain, at FDA. And so, I was thinking about this, and even though my title is an acting office director, you know what my job series is? You know what my PD, my job series is, and it has been for 26 years? I'm a consumer safety officer. Isn't that the coolest? Isn't that the coolest title? I write it down on my IRS income tax returns, and they don't know what the hell a consumer safety officer is. But, at the end of the day, listening to the other MDIC initiatives, knowing what we're doing at FDA, I don't really care if I'm an office director. I don't care if I'm I'm a consumer safety officer. GS 696, that's pretty cool. And it fits with Case for Quality. It really fits with a lot of what we're doing. So I think Suzanne teed it up pretty well here. So, and I guess you heard from Dr. Shuren today how important this is to him, okay? So let's just say I've been reporting to him for 9.5 months, one-on-ones, pretty much weekly one-on-ones with him. 3 priorities on my side of the house, the post-market, Case for Quality, benefit risk framework, program alignment, and they all connect together. So even this framework that Suzanne just showed you, even within FDA, we can tie this to some of our other really exciting work that we're doing as well. And so, this is about putting your money where your mouth is. And Dr. Shuren, that was huge commitment in this broad agency, agreement, because we're all vying. The 8 offices in CDRH, we're vying for this money, and this is really important. And so for us in compliance, touched together with the Office of In Vitro and Rad Health, this is a really important commitment of funds for this project. So the end of last year, November, December, we convened a steering committee. So we've got 4 or 5 of our steering committee members here. Suzanne is this, terrific executive that we had as a program manager, because really, what makes things run, right? The program manager. It's super in getting this to where we are today. So 2015, we're active, we're ongoing, and we're not done yet. Got a couple more of these activities to convene a little bit together. We've had these 3 working forums. I'm going to kind of go through what did we do, what we were trying to get out of those. We've had a public webinar, so in other words, to take that information and to spread it out to even a little bit larger community through different media. And then Suzanne just told you about another upcoming public venue where people can interact and hear more about these 4 specific projects that are running through these work groups. In addition, MDIC sponsored this in-depth research on maturity models. Some of you may be way more familiar with that than I. Kind of started out of that software effort with CMMI. Other industry sectors have had some success, and there's pros and cons and ways that we're hoping we can see if we can leverage that into medical devices with respect to quality. All right. So we had to start and kind of ground people. I mean, Suzanne gave you these 2 very, very high-level introductory slides. So to take some folks that really might not have heard of Case for Quality or had just heard a little bit about it, we needed to kind of ground everybody. So what was FDA trying to do? What were we not trying to do? What is Case for Quality? What is not Case for Quality? And it's about this dedicated cadence of participants, right? You all know when different people show up to a meeting, the dynamic is different. For those of you that do management reviews, and within your QMS, different people there, different outcome. Is the president there? Is the CEO there? It's different than if that person is out on leave or out on travel. The dynamic is different. So this is really, I think, one of the keys of success that we've had in these many months in 2015 is this dedicated cadre of participants that we have. We spent a lot of time focusing and brainstorming, and we brainstormed and we brainstormed and we brainstormed, and I thought, holy cow, if we had resources, if we had user fees for Case for Quality, oh my gosh, we would just be incredible, but we don't, right? So you have to pick what you can do. You have to pick what makes sense. You have to. It's not the low-hanging fruit business. It's what's going to matter. That's really the essence of what's at this Case for Quality initiative. It's doing what matters, measuring what matters, analyzing what matters, sharing what matters, and stop doing what doesn't, or deprioritize it. That's what the heart and soul of this, really is all about. So we funneled, and we kind of got down to 3 or 4 themes, and then through the forums we had folks get together and really come up with, all right, what would your work plan look like? We really made people work and say, give us a proposed kind of 1-year timeline on this and a charter and what would work. So I'm going to give you those outcomes, and some of them are a little bit more seasoned than others, and one is just recently approved. So it'll be, I think, really exciting. Do you guys do this like every year, every September? It's going to be really cool what we come back with a year from now, because that's the target. We want to come back and tell you what these groups have done. What have they piloted? What have they developed? What have they done? Suzanne kind of told you about the Case for Quality framework, because somewhere along the way, people are starting to say, how does this connect? How does this fit with this? How does this fit with this? So she kind of showed you that slide, that where the MDIC groups fit in, where do the other efforts fit in, and then as I said, even with us at FDA, we can overlay where program alignment is going in. We can go in and lay in where benefit risk framework lays in along with that as well, okay? All right, so let's talk about these 4 groups, and these are not really in a significantly in order, but just I think it kind of makes a logical progression. So competency development, all right? I mean, there's tons of tools out there for competency development, for training. You have them. We as a regulator have them. But I think the idea is to come up with programs to identify where we can learn together in a collaborative environment. And believe me, going back to some of these early forums, it was really cool. People were like talking about industry, talking about like coming and doing details at CDRH, at ODE, like I'm going to come work on, work exchange. You come do 3 months at ODE, we'll go do 3 months at your company. But I mean, that's sort of that's sort of a tongue-in-cheek, but seriously, this is what it's getting at. It's this common collaborative environment getting down so that we're understanding the same things together. It's what is significant and why, and what's not significant and why. And so the benefit of this is, again, it's to stop the things that we don't need to do, to focus on what we do need to do, and make sure that we're taking that and then can reinvest it into better medical devices and patient care. All right, the next group probably has had the longest opportunity to gel together as a group, because their effort came out of another concurrent effort we were trying to do within Case for Quality. So FDA Champion, together with Xavier University, had a group working on device measures, and they met for a number of months, dedicated work groups there, pre-production, post-production, production, kind of honing in on all of this, and then continued to present this information to the MDIC forum, and then the Case for Quality Steering Committee at MDIC approved their charter and approved them as a group to continue to take that work, to sort of really take the best ideas, some of their top predictive quality measures, and now to turn them into pilots, to kind of hone them, fine-tune them, and to put them into pilots. Want to make sure that we validate these, and then what are we all collectively going to do with them and collaboratively going to do with this information. And we're hoping that the benefit of this is to make sure that you've got, again, predictive quality measures across that whole total product life cycle, so that we have this platform, so that everybody has access to this, industry, the regulator, the stakeholders, to use this to assess what's going on with product quality, to detect it along the way, before things happen, and the ultimate goal of increased patient safety. It's all about the more you can do upstream with things, it's of the most tremendous value. All right, and then quality system maturity models. So again, as I said, the maturity model concepts are out there in other sectors. So I think the challenge is, how can we translate this into medical devices, into the quality management system? Whether it's a modular approach, whether it's a prioritized approach, a risk-based approach, how do we do that? And so what this group is focusing on is to make sure that companies can be independently and objectively assessed. And so that might be logically outside of the Food and Drug Administration. It could obviously be a third-party entity doing this. against a recognized set of leading practices and external benchmarks. So again, this ties into even some other quality efforts that are going on, maybe not under the umbrella of Case for Quality, but all right, again, tapping those and weaving those into the maturity model. And again, we're talking about the benefit here is then you leverage this in. This group came up with calling it a quality SAT score to each organization, or similarly, maturity could be leveraged as an input to a type of consumer reports information concerning a specific medical device. And I think about this, as an example, my mom died in November, and so she was at Virginia Hospital Center for a number of times last year. And, of course, working for the FDA, you got this mindset, and I'm in her hospital room many, many days, and I'm thinking, oh, okay, and I'm looking at these different products. And I have to say, I'm looking at it, and it's like, okay, warning letter, consent decree, warning letter, 483. Wouldn't it be so cool if instead I was in that hospital room, with my relative going, ooh, that's a 4-star product. That is a 4.5-star product. That's a 5-star product. I mean, isn't that what we're aiming for? Is to think about it in that, to think about it in that way. So stay tuned for the work on the maturity model. And then finally, the term advanced analytics, big analytics, but we kind of honed in on advanced analytics. But this is about the analysis techniques to all of our stakeholders, right? And you'll see in the next couple of slides, I'll talk about one of the value of these MDIC forums has been we have had some stakeholders that we haven't had in the past. So we've had some payers, we've had some reimbursers, purchasing consortiums that are there. And their analysis and what they're looking for is very different than, maybe what a patient is when they go to CVS to buy a product, or maybe what a clinician is when he or she is deciding what type of product to use in the OR. So it's all of this analysis techniques, right one for the right venue. And so, again, identifying the key data, but a standard approach to data analytics, to feed back in to the design quality and into manufacturing, and cross-industry comparative analysis for benchmarking to peers. So the goal is, I think the thinking is in each one of these groups, the idea is it's supposed to be really a year-long productive experience. We're looking for a result. They've got charters. They have action plans. You can hear more about this. But the idea is, hopefully a year from now we'll be able to report back some amazing results, what worked, what didn't, what was piloted that should be continued, what should FDA maybe start using, what do you think FDA should start using? It's that type of thing we hope will come out of this. So what has been, and what does FDA continue to expect in the advancement of Case for Quality? Well, as I said, this cadence of forums with committed participants is really key, because, you want to get past where you're explaining what it is to everybody as they come in, right? You need everybody now to be sort of on that same page and really keep going, and that's hard to do if you're constantly stopping to reset and catch people up. We want to make sure that we're in all facets of the device community. I think it's been so valuable to have representatives from an HMO, the American Hospital Association. These are people that I certainly didn't interact with 5-10 years ago in my career. I'm sitting there not really interacting with those stakeholders. Industry, yes. Device manufacturers, yes. Contract manufacturers, yes. But not this focus. So this is very cool. All size firms, right? So again, more than 60% of the inventory we have at FDA for registered device manufacturers are companies that are 10 people or less. This has got to be one size fits all. This information has to be out there for everybody. We want there to be a vibrant and robust communication program. So the work that's done in these forums needs to be shared, and then information back, same the other way. It's a venue for us at FDA to work collaboratively, with all of you. This continues to be the fruits of what we did in 2012 and 2013. We really hit the rubber chicken circuit, and we were out all over the United States in every venue that we could, big, small, large, talking about the Case for Quality. It was really that design input phase we were trying to get. And every time that we went out and spoke, we were trying to couple that with a visit to FDA's nearest district office, right, to try and engage the folks that do the device inspections, that do the device compliance work, to introduce them to this at the same time. So a lot of what we learned there, it's really fabulous that we're able to pour into here. And I have to say, I mean, I think the communication continues to be open and frank, and I think you hear it when we're here. We hear it in the work groups. People are very frank. They're very open, and they're very honest. Again, I said all stakeholders are welcome. We need to tap into more resources. So this MDIC BAA is fabulous because, FDA, it never was intended that we could do it all. We got, oftentimes within our agency, you got the same dedicated group of people doing the same thing, right? So if we have the same people doing case for quality, the same people doing program alignment, the same people doing the benefit risk framework, it's about more resources, and FDA not intending to do it alone and can't do it alone. We want to initiate additional concurrent case for quality projects. So maybe a year from now, these 4 are great guns. Maybe we add a couple more, just whatever. We want to make sure, and I think that's one thing the steering committee has done. So Steve's on the steering committee, Beth's on the steering committee, Bill's on the steering committee. We want to make sure that these folks do not get overloaded or burned out, that we're not asking the same people to be on the same group. They all have day jobs too, right? So we treasure these resources and don't want to take advantage of them. But it is about expanding the case for quality footprint. So if those were our expectations, and you kind of look where the MDIC effort has net out, and really in less than a year, it's amazing. The collaboration, the frankness, but the dedication and the resources to this. So these 4 work groups, each with these co-leads, the effort, the dollars that they're spending on, whether they're coming together physically as groups, the teleconferences, taking time. Many of them are meeting either weekly or biweekly. So there's just momentum going on. FDA has a little bit of a liaison role in each one, but we're not the driver on this. It's these groups that are doing this. The commitment is just amazing. As I said, the new stakeholders, I think, is terrific. I'd like to see a little bit more of that, because clearly, one provider or one consortium or one HMO is not the only perspective. So that would be just fabulous to have a little bit more of those. And one that I'm not so sure we've had in the forum, hitting the nail on the head, but we surely did when we were out talking, is the role of the consultant that companies hire, whether it's to submit a 510K, whether it's because you have a 483 to respond to. But consultants in the medical device industry have tremendous influence, right? And so this is another one maybe to sort of tap into that a little bit, because they're seeing perhaps across manufacturers the barriers, the problems. So that's sort of tying back to the days when we were out talking about this. And a tremendous sharing across companies. Folks are not worried about that. And an example was I was in one of the groups on the measures, the device measures group, and I was listening. I was more an observer at that point, and I heard one company was presenting their methodology of doing something, and this other individual was like, "Do you really do that? That is so cool." And they're like, "Yes, we really do that. Can I go to?" Yes. It's that kind of sharing that goes on, in between the lines, if you will, and that's invaluable. And I think when you put that into these work group products, it's just gonna be amazing. So stay tuned. It'll be really exciting, I think, to see a year from now what we're gonna bring back to your table. Do I want to take any questions? Sure. Do you have any questions? All right. Well, thanks.